Welcome to Jets Rewind. I'm Marty Schupak in Valley Cottage, New York, and I'm joined by Ray Clifford in a freezing cold Marysville, Ohio. And Ralph Schrager is now back from Florida. He came back at the most perfect time, so he'll feel the cold with us. And how you guys doing? I'll start with Ray. Ray, how you doing?
Good. Ready for some weekend football and
Yeah,
just,
shoot,
hoping that things keep rolling. We got rid of Belichick,
right.
let's keep the good times
I
going.
don't know. That could be a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
He without Brady, he's not that good. And we
And
finally figured out how to beat him, right?
that's
Yeah.
it. That's it.
Yeah.
And
Get a major blizzard
God.
and
I want to welcome
QB.
everyone. This is our annual New York Jets awards show, one of our most popular, and it's at the end of the year. And we're recording this on Friday, January 12th, 2024. Why does that date ring a bell, Ray?
All right, that's right. I forgot. Yeah.
Today's the
Something big happened.
55th anniversary of the
Well,
Jets.
it's easy to remember because nothing has happened since. So
Jets victory. There's a lot of space in between. Just Marty and Ralph and Ray have gotten a lot grayer and have a lot less hair.
I met a guy in the airport who was wearing
Yeah.
a Jet jersey, number 10, but it said Bullock on the back. I think that was his own name. I don't remember any Jets named
Didn't they
Bullock.
have Randy
Well, they had
Bullock
a kicker.
They had a
Oh,
kicker for a few seconds. Can
I
you?
don't think he was number 10.
yeah,
Somehow I don't. I should
yeah.
have asked the guy.
Ralph, you're getting like me. I go up to everyone
I know.
in a jet hat, but you know,
You know what he said?
yeah,
Next year's the year.
been hearing that.
I
Okay.
haven't heard that
Could,
one yet.
could he guarantee? Could he guarantee Aaron Rodgers 17 games?
Guarantee, yeah.
Yeah.
As he's holding up his number one finger.
All
Yeah.
right. But this is the award show, and we're going to get right into it. Ralph's going to have his classic trivia. I'll have my amateur trivia class question. But before we start, special kudos go out to Sauce Gardner and Quincy Williams. Both of them were named All Pro. And one of my trivia questions is about that. But I just want to talk about Quincy Williams just for a minute because Ralph, I think, was the first Ray out of us three to really appreciate how good this guy was and could be. And except for like a couple of late hits on the sideline in one exhibition game and one during the season, and he had a couple of uh, weak games. It looked like he disappeared for two or three. When I say he disappeared, it means he didn't have 10 or 12 tackles. He had like six or eight. But this is a good, really lesson for young, not just young athletes or NFL players, but kids everywhere that, if you work hard enough, here's a guy who came out of Murray State. He was drafted in the third round by Jacksonville. For some reason, it didn't work out. And thank God the Jets picked him up off waivers, which is unbelievable. We're so used to players being picked off the Jets waiver wire and becoming all pro or getting traded to another team, becoming all pro. This was really a gift. And Ray, was it what's his name? Joe Douglas that picked him up?
Yes.
He
Yes.
was. Okay. Thanks, Ray. Okay. So I
I'm
want
glad he
to,
knew because I was trying to think if that was beginning of Joe's tenure or right at the end of but I don't think McCagnon had the brains to pick anybody that good up.
yeah, I think,
And I wonder if we would have picked him up if Quinnen wasn't on the team. I wonder if that had anything to do with,
I,
picking him
I,
up.
Probably something. Yeah.
yeah, I thought of that, but, at this point, I don't care really.
I don't even, yeah, doesn't matter why.
Everyone's been down on Joe Douglas. I happen to think uh, he does recognize talent. I really do. I think he's a pretty good talent evaluator. We'll see what he does. This is a lot of pressure on him in the draft. Ralph, I'm just going to give you my amateur uh, question, and then we'll get to your classic, just because it's related. Uh, Sauce Gardner became one of seven Jets to make the All
Ooh.
Pro.
Hmm.
This is post merger time. So that's after, I guess, 1970. Is that right? 1970.
Yeah, I guess
70 or 71.
you
Right,
can call it that. I always think of it when the common draft came,
right.
but whatever. It's late 60s, early 70s.
So
Yeah.
he's one of 7 players to win multiple All-Pro awards.
Multiple, not just back to back.
Uh, multiple. I think he might have been, one of the first ones to win back to back. I'm not sure. But
Yeah.
anyway, there are 6 others. So I'm going to ask you guys, try to name the other
Oh,
6.
that's a fun question. Yeah.
And yeah, again, post 1970, 71, just a little hint. 3 of them did it 3 times and 2 of them did it twice. So that's my amateur question to think about. So Ralph, let's go to your classic trivia.
I just want clarification. I mean, I don't know how many all pro teams they have. Do they have a first, a second, and a third team, or how does that work? Because
I'm looking at the names and I'm
I
looking
thought they have at
just
least a second team.
just so you know, I got this from Rich Cimini who tweeted it out. So I assume you guys
oh,
have seen
okay.
it. So I think
I didn't see it. Yeah.
no, so I think Rich Cimini is talking about the first team. And looking at the
Okay.
list, I do think it's the first team. So there are 6 others.
All right. That's fun. All right.
Okay, and Ralph, let's go to your classic.
All right. My question is a college pro question. Since the inception of the Jets Titans in 1960, they have drafted 5 quarterbacks who led their teams to national championships or a part of a national championship, which is something that will never happen again, thank God. But back in the old days, it used to happen all the time because one of the polls did not count the bowl games, so you'd always were getting 2 different teams.
Right.
Sometimes you could get the same one. But there are five quarterbacks that the Jets have drafted since 1960 who've led their team to a piece of or the whole national championship. And one of them, the first one, is a toughie, but the other ones are definitely gettable. And we'll see how many you guys can get.
That's a great question. And I'm writing down. I wrote down my 5. I don't think
Wow, you got 5 already.
I got
Nice.
5, but I wrote them down very quick. And one of them I know was incorrect. It can't be correct, but I just raised them. All right. The Jets Rewind New York Jets award show, and this is really one of my favorite besides the draft shows because during the seasons, we don't win, so this is what I look forward to. But the first award, and I have this in order, so we're going to rotate the order. Ray's going to answer this first, and there's going to be some overlapping. We're going to have the same names, obviously. There's nothing wrong with that. We'll just talk about it. So the first award is the Trumaine Johnson Award for this year for who was the worst free agent signing.
Lazard.
Okay, Alan Lazard. That's a great answer. Ralph?
Lazard is the obvious choice,
was
but I'm not
easy.
gonna pick him because I'm gonna pick Dalvin Cook because the Jets needed a wide receiver. They didn't need Dalvin Cook. And it was a stupid thing. It was like, a big flashy pick, and he was useless and he was costly, and they already got rid of him. Maybe Lazard will give them something next year, so I'll pick Cook.
I picked Alan Lazard. I think it was close. I thought that actually Dalvin Cook, there was a time during the year in a couple of games, he actually looked like he was running the door fairly well, and I had said they should give him more reps at that time than Breece Hall because I thought something was wrong.
He had a handful of plays, I would say.
Yeah, he did, but it was a waste. I wanted to sign that free agent guard Dalton Risner, which
I know we're never going to hear the end of that. I'm telling you.
won't. But anyway, okay.
But I considered Cook too, but I thought, we didn't end up using him as much because I don't think they expected Breece Hall to be ready. So I think he could have been more of a. I mean, I still think Lazard just didn't do much of anything, but Cook didn't either. But I think Cook was more from non-use than from him not panning out into being, a penalty drop fumble machine.
If you remember the Dalvin Cook, I think we all agreed, or it was said that it was kind of insurance for Breece Hall because he was on a pitch count at the beginning.
Right, but I thought that their other runners were good enough. If their offensive line was functioning, because of Dalvin Cook, they got rid of Bam Knight and Carter, and those are 2 guys they could have had on the cheap And I really wanted to see Bam Knight play again this
I
year. I
did
thought he
too.
was pretty good. So anyway, yeah, they were both great signings, let's face it.
All right, next award, we're gonna start with Ralph. It's the David Clowney Award, and for those very young Jet fans, it's David Clowney was one of the many Jets that lit it up in preseason, and they had all these accolades and All Pro written all over him, and he did, I don't want to say literally nothing. He did a little bit of something. We're going to start with Ralph. Ralph, maybe we should even combine this, called the David Clowney and who's the
Brett
guy?
Ratliff,
Brett Ratliff Award.
Or Mike Battle Award.
Mike Battle Award,
The
yeah.
older Jet. All right, so Ralph, who do you?
This is kind of tough this year. I'm gonna go with something outside the box. I'm gonna pick the biggest hype job in the history of the Jets and say Aaron Rodgers, because it was a complete disaster. And there was never been a guy hyped so much. In fact, I just got a text from Matt Lewis. He said a good news and bad news. He said the good news is he thinks Rob Calabrese, the quarterback coach, is going to get fired. Unfortunately, the bad news is Aaron Rodgers' new quarterback coach, he thinks is going to be Jimmy Kimmel. But I pick Rodgers because I just felt that it was the biggest letdown, in the history of the team. Anyway, that's
I read that as kind of like a rookie, but you kind of changed it.
yeah, I guess because I just felt that there weren't a whole lot of rookies
There
that were
wasn't.
being hyped.
I'm going to keep it for a rookie, and I'm going to say, even though at the end of the year he was a little bit of a bright spot, this Jason Brownlee, again, he made one fantastic catch in a spring training workout. I don't know if you guys saw it. I'm sure all over the internet, like a one-handed
Oh yeah,
catch. It was all over the place, but and it wasn't entirely his fault. But I thought with all the hype, we would have seen more out of him because there was no quarterback play. So I'm going to say Jason Brownlee, and Ray, you could agree, disagree, or go with someone else.
I'm going with someone else. Not that Brown. I'm thinking along the same lines, but I will say I don't think this is any indication of him down the road, because I do think we've talked about him plenty of times that he's going to turn into something really good. I said Will McDonald because we just heard so much about him, and then I blame, I'd say it's more to do with the coaches than him. He didn't get on the field enough, and after all we heard and what we saw in the preseason, I thought we were going to, by the end of the year, I thought we were going to see more out of him, and I think we will down the road. But this year, I was a little disappointed in how it ended up with him.
Yeah, I had a feeling you were going to say that, Ray. That probably would have been my choice too.
Yeah.
Will McDonald, who might become a All Pro, he might get more awards today than anyone else. Okay, the three good picks. All right, the next one is the most improved Jet from last season. I have to say, if there's any one question where I thought we'd all be unanimous, this was it. Unless
I don't think so, Marty.
Oh, okay, all right. Because I'm going to go with the most obvious. I just want to talk about him too. Trumaine Johnson, who I thought was not. I don't want to say he was not good last year, whatever, but he just didn't do anything. This year, he was a different ball player. And it was, to me, it was so refreshing to see this guy. At the end of the year, he made that tip interception for a touchdown. And I don't know if they keep these stats, but I'm going to say it now. He was probably the most held player on the defensive side of the board in the NFL. I never saw a player held as much as him. And I remember in that Kansas City game when he's being held ridiculous, and with the other hand, he's like pointing at the guy. I never saw anything like it. So I'm going to go with Trumaine Johnson, and I'm going to ask Ray, you're next.
Yeah, I probably went with the one who's most. I'm going with Quincy. To go from, he's been good with the Jets all the time, but he even talked about how he wanted to improve and be more of an all-round linebacker, and he wanted to be an all-pro. And he talked to Mosley, picked his brain and just really worked hard in the offseason to make himself more of an all-around player. And I thought, obviously the results are, showed, and he got all pro and he deserved it. And so to me, that was Jermaine Johnson, I thought showed signs last year. I wasn't sure if we were going to see it. He showed, signs that he could be good. Quincy, I thought he'd probably leveled out where he was before this past year. I thought we saw all he could do, but he definitely stepped up his game. So I like Quincy.
Okay, good choice. Ralph?
Well, I'm not going to pick a flashy guy, but I'm going to pick this guy because I have to eat a little crow because I couldn't stand this guy last year. To me, he's been a big bust in the league, but I thought this year he actually had a pretty good year. You know who I'm talking about?
Um,
I can't go back. Last year you thought he was a bust in the league.
Well, he didn't do anything last year, and he's been in the league for about 4 or 5 years. High draft pick, and he's never done it. He's been a total bust. But this year, I thought he was pretty good. He had a pretty good year, and I didn't think we'd get as much production out of him.
Solomon Thomas?
Yeah, Solomon Thomas.
That's a
Yeah.
good choice.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, he did. Ralph, that's a good choice. He definitely played his best football this year, and he made a couple of good sacks. Last game, was the game before, he made two bad plays in a row, but that's a good choice. All right, very good choices, guys. We're going to go back to Ray now, and it's I guess the most disappointing Jet from last season. So that's probably a Jet that was either average or above average, and this year, like, he was just terrible. I have my pick, but Ray, you start, then we'll go with Ralph and mine.
I think to me, a lot of guys were disappointing, but not many that I expected to be, really good. And I was gonna go. Well, the obvious one is, Rogers, good, but he got hurt, so you can't say he was disappointing, because, you can't do anything about injuries. So I'm not even sold on any of these that I was fighting with myself over, but I'm gonna go with to me, I wanted to see not Carl Lawson, Jonathan Franklin Myers have a little bit better. I was expecting a little bit more out of him. He started out, he had some good games, and then after a while, I didn't hear anything about him hardly for a long time. So I'm going with Jonathan Franklin Myers, but there wasn't anybody who stood out as the one guy who I expected a lot out of.
I have one I think it stood out, but I want to ask you, Ray, and Ralph, you could chime in. Do you think, Ray, he's a Jet next year?
What's his cap hit? I think that could affect it, but I won't say he's definitely out the door, but I'd say he's somebody that if they're really wanting to clear some cap room, I could see him dumping. But he's pretty good, for the most part. He just seemed to tail off this year to me. He didn't make a lot of plays, after a while, after about mid-season. So I think if they want the cap space, I could see him dumping them. But
Okay.
I think a lot of that'll depend on if they sign Huff or not. If they don't
Yeah.
sign Huff, I think they're going to have to keep him.
yeah,
But I thought Franklin Myers was pretty ordinary this year. My guy is a guy who wasn't that great last year, but he showed some promise. I thought he'd take a big step in his second year, and I thought he really regressed, and that was Max Mitchell.
yeah.
That really hurt. I mean, you need to develop these guys, these later picks in the offensive line, and so that one hurt. I don't know what's going to happen to him next year. We'll have to hope Carter Warren takes a jump next year, because if he doesn't, they have big trouble.
Like where we were really.
Yeah.
Ralph, do you think last year he had to end the season early because of blood clots? I didn't hear anything that the medication is working or whatever. So we have no idea. I mean,
he won't be playing if the medication wasn't working. That's a dangerous situation.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. All right. So we have hopes for them. And you mentioned Carter Warren. I thought he played pretty good against the Pats. So I have hopes for him too.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he, in college, he was purely a left tackle. And I'm wondering if I'd like to have seen him play, left tackle for a game.
Yeah. But
we saw enough of Beck. We didn't need to see.
We did. I can't believe I actually read in chat rooms people saying that they'd like to have him back at a reduced
Oh
cost.
my
I
God,
don't know.
reduce, if he paid the Jets, maybe.
He'd have to pay Jets Rewind, not even the Jets.
How about a $10,000 for every offside? If he gives that back, then
He's-
then he'd end up paying us.
He's hanging his hat that he got very close to Aaron Rodgers. So we'll see.
Oh, okay,
My-
good.
Coming
my-
up on his 5th-year option thing. Is that this year on
They
him?
didn't accept that. Yeah,
They didn't
they-
accept it.
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
So he'd
I-
have to, I guess, re-sign or what.
he's
Um,
gone. So.
My pick most underutilized player is.
Wait a minute. Do you need to guy who was most
Oh
disappointing?
yeah,
Mark?
disappointing. I'm sorry, Michael Clemens.
Oh,
After
yeah.
last year, I just thought that here's a guy off the field. He gives the impression that he eats nails for lunch, dinner, and breakfast. He started out, he made some pretty good plays in his rookie year. This year, the amount of good plays he made are only on, you can count on one hand. I was incredibly disappointed. Now, fairness to him, they had him put on, I guess, between 15 and 20 pounds and try to move him inside a little.
Yeah.
That's the reason that it's a mistake. Have him lose the weight, put him back in the rotation. I do think he has potential, but I think he was, to me, the most disappointing player this year. All right, Ray, you start. I believe it's your
I
turn.
started the last one. It's Ralph.
Oh, the pressure's on.
Uh-oh.
What most underutilized player?
Okay, most underutilized player. I don't even have this stuff written down. I can't even remember who I was thinking of.
You want to go? You want to go third?
No, I'm going to go first because I'm going to take our favorite guy, our pet guy, Ashton Davis, Mr. In the middle of everything all the time. I know he made kind of a dumb play the other day, but
Yeah, he did.
well, I mean, this guy, any fumble or intercept, he had 3 picks. He recovered, I think, 3 fumbles. And what percentage of plays did he play?
It's unbelievable.
What's this guy's future?
Less
on
than
the team?
20%, probably.
Less than 20. I think it's 18 or 19%.
Something, hopefully, Whitehead's gone and maybe they'll play him alongside Adams. But
Well, he's a free agent now.
is he? Yeah. Well, that's
Ashton Davis is.
I believe he is. So that's going to be an issue.
yeah. It seems like he's been here forever.
Right.
I know.
Ralph, you're okay. There you go. You blocked out for a second. All right. Who goes? Ray?
No, you.
Oh, I go. All right. I'm going to go with Will McDonald. I just thought in this small sample size, I really liked what I saw. I know you guys might disagree, and I just think they didn't use him enough. And I know they like to bring rookies up slowly, but with Carl Lawson virtually not seeing any time, I just thought this guy would see some more plays. I don't know how many sacks he had. I think it was 3 or 2, but still, to me, he showed something. So I thought he was the most underutilized player.
By the way, Marty, I think you need to change the David Clowney Award to the David Clowney Carl Lawson Award, because the only thing he ever did was in preseason before he ripped his Achilles. He was the best player in the world.
Ralph, we could attach like 5 names to that award, All right, Ray, you go.
I think, because they didn't use him early in the year, they used him more late. He had a couple injuries that slowed him down a little, but I thought they could have used Ruckert more during the season, especially early in the year. And he started to show, as they started using him more, that he's a good receiver. I think him and Conklin make a good pair. And so I would like to, I'm hoping next year we quit messing around with bringing in, other guys to do different things. He can catch the ball. He's not, he's not slow. I like Ruckert, and I think he's got a lot more to give.
Yeah, really, this guy's career is he just hasn't taken off. It's for one reason or another. It's frustrating.
Well,
very frustrating.
Ray, you want to see Ralph grow here in like a matter of 2 seconds? I was listening to a draft podcast.
Oh, they want to draft Brock Bowers. Is that it? Yeah.
They said, don't be surprised they draft Brock Bowers. I couldn't believe it when I heard that. Oh my God. Who's a great player. He's going to
Well, he could be a great player. I mean, the bust rate for first round tight ends is very high in the last few years.
Right.
So, We got to be careful.
We do not want the Jets to draft Brock Purdy.
No, no, not at
We
all.
don't need it, not in the first round.
I'm still waiting for Jay Samaro to come around. Is he? How's he
Jason
doing?
Morrow, yeah, I remember that. That was Mike Francesca's guy. I remember.
Yeah.
All right, I think it's my turn, the best offensive player. And before we do that, a couple of shout outs. Tom McIntyre up in Pearl River, New York. I met him at the store. He's wearing an old-fashioned Jets jacket. He's been a Jets fan since 1969. And another good guy, I only know him by the name of Frankie. He's a close friend of mine, Pete Della Rocca. Frankie's a huge Jet fan. A couple of shout outs. Before I give mine, I got just a quick, I don't even call it trivia. I just call it a quick quiz. All right, here, we're going to talk about it too. There, as we know, Gerard Mayo is a new New England Patriots coach. He is the second one who's coaching in the NFL right now that was drafted by the New England Patriots. Could you tell me the other coach who's drafted by the Patriots? He's coaching right now.
Head coach or just coaching?
Head coach.
Okay.
Head coach.
Antonio Pierce.
Nope.
Hang on. Let's see. It's probably one of these guys who
There aren't too
was on
many.
the taxi squad.
There aren't too many football players
No,
who
no,
are
he was,
head
but he
coaches.
was drafted. Yeah, he was drafted by
Yeah.
them. And actually, during the season,
Robert
Who's
Sala.
the Vikings coach?
that's it.
Oh yeah,
Neil
Kevin O'Connell. Yeah, yeah,
I was
yeah.
going to say he was the answer to a question Ralph gave us in the middle of the year. Part of the
Third,
question.
yeah,
that's
third
a
round pick. I remember when they took him. He was a terrible quarterback. The
Terrible.
Jets had him for.
Just
I
had
think
it
we
too.
did.
Yeah, we've had every bad quarterback for
That's
about
it.
5 minutes.
Yeah. Best offensive player, I think going away, it's Breece Hall. He had a hiccup for like 4 or 5 games. I don't think it was 100%, but give this guy an offensive line. You're going to see him, if he stays healthy, the guy is incredible. And as I think it was either Ray or Ralph said, let's hope we could utilize him before he leaves the team because he's a talent. So my pick is Breece Hall. Now, who goes, Ralph or Ray?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go. I mean, he's the obvious choice. I wouldn't pick Garrett Wilson because Garrett Wilson just said this was the worst year of his life. So how can you pick the guy?
Right.
No, it's definitely Breece Hall. And yeah, with an offensive line, I think the sky's the limit for him. I'd see him getting like 1,600 rushing and probably about 800 passing yards and about 15 touchdowns if he had an offensive line. If he only had an offensive line, yeah.
Ray?
Yeah, clean sweep on that one. And you know, the bad part about fearing that either he would leave or, you know, sustain another injury is that as it is, running backs have a short shelf life anyway. So
Yeah.
they used up 2 years out of an average of
Like
5.
4 or 5, yeah, really
Yeah.
peak years.
Yeah.
So,
And the problem with these runners, if they have 2 or 3 great years, they want to renegotiate their contract, and that becomes really sticky and ugly all the time.
the only thing that helps in, you know, in the modern day is that they do a lot of the tandem running back things. So one guy isn't doing, you know, 30 carries a game anymore.
Right.
Still, I mean, they still get banged up and anything can happen.
Okay. All right. Ray, I'm going to start with you, I think. The worst offensive player, Ray.
Wow, what choices we have
I
here.
had to flip a coin, but you know, I figured
Finally.
since I used the Lazar on the last one, I'll go with Becton on this one. Just the swinging gate on the left side of the line. Either you don't have to say much. He was either a penalty or a, you know, whiff machine. So
Yeah. There's no wrong answer. Ralph, go ahead.
I'm going to go with Becton also. I mean, you know, he started out fair, but I mean, he just deteriorated so badly. And
you should have kept him on the right side.
yeah.
I'm not, to me, it was between Becton and this other guy. And I went with this other guy just because the amount of money we're paying.
I know who you're talking
Lakin
about.
Tomlinson.
Yeah.
The amount of money we're paying, and it's incredible to me how these guys, Ralph, that's another name we could add to the David Clowney Award. It's just incredible that, you know, they come to the Jets and
Well,
this.
he's on the Trumaine Johnson Award for a
Oh, I'm
bad,
sorry, Trumaine. Yes, I mean Trumaine Johnson Award. Yeah, we could add his name. He's just been awful. I
Oh, yeah.
keep hearing things about they're bringing him back because he played in every game. But what's the difference? I mean,
When it's the Jets, I guess that means a lot, right?
oh,
So
come
they'll
on.
probably bring Beckham back because he played in every game.
Yeah, they're talking about it. All right, Ralph, best defensive player. I think this might be, oh no, actually it will be split. Go ahead, Ralph.
Best defensive player. This is a tough award. I think there were like four legitimate people. And I love Quincy Williams, but because I know everyone's going to pick him, I'm going to pick this guy because CJ Mosley, because I remember it was the Washington game, 30-0. That guy is out there making tackles, and he's such a professional. I don't know if necessarily he was the best, but I have to give him some props because the thing, he just won me over in some of these horrible games where he just wouldn't quit. Guys, and I really want them to bring him back. I thought he was better this year than last year when he made like a second or third All-Pro team, which I thought was bogus. But this year, I really thought he was terrific. And Quincy sort of stole all the thunder, but I thought he was pretty close to him.
It was a good choice. He had that one bad game when he couldn't cover that tight end.
Marty will pick out one play.
I
He was great.
wanted to pick out all the plays where
outside.
he dropped those
Yes.
those interceptions.
Yeah, I know, against Cleveland. I mean, and it wasn't his fault. That's where they had to make an adjustment. Okay, go ahead, Ray. Best defensive player.
I'm sticking with Quinnen just because I think he's the glue to that whole defensive line where, I mean, he doesn't get the stats and he won't get them anymore because he's always double teamed. But if he isn't wrecking the line, then our DBs aren't looking as good. Our linebackers are having to cover more guys. And so I think Quinnen's just so undervalued even at what he's being paid just by how much he makes our defensive line better automatically.
I'm with you, Ray. I think Queen Williams. I think he was the most double team player in the NFL this year. To me, he's like a throwback player.
Yeah.
I think he's a leader. I like the way he speaks up against coaches. I remember that game when he was yelling at them, telling them you don't have to blitz.
And
And
movement sense.
yeah, and I just love this guy, just phenomenal. And going back, Ray, Ralph and I wanted them to draft Oliver, who's on
Yeah.
the Buffalo Bills, who's a heck of a player too.
Yes,
But
he is.
I think that Queen Williams is better, and
He is better.
Oh.
Yeah.
and I'm glad we got him. So I'm going to go with him. All right, let me start worst defensive player.
Oh, Marty can't wait.
You surprised Jordan Whitehead, who he set himself up. He had 3 interceptions, I guess, that first game. But I remember in Ashton Davis' rookie year, on a lot of plays, he took the biggest knock was him taking these angles to make tackles. He couldn't even push a guy out of bounds. Jordan Whitehead surpassed him this year. I never saw a guy, number one, get tangled up in his feet. Number two, take the wrong angle to make a tackle. And I'll take one from Ray Clifford. Instead of trying to make a Ronnie Lott hit, wrap your arms around the guy and just make the tackle. It just drove me crazy all year. I wanted the guy benched. I couldn't understand it. It's the one stain I see on the defensive side as far as strategy. I don't know if they're afraid of this guy or what. So to me, it's Jordan Whitehead. Okay, Ralph, you go.
Well, it really is Jordan Whitehead because there was really nobody else who played regularly on defense who was terrible. I mean, I know you thought Clemens wasn't that good, but he wasn't really a regular. Yeah, so I have to go with Whitehead as well. It's a shame that they didn't give Davis more reps during the year. Would have been interesting.
Okay, Ray.
Boy, that's pretty interesting. We had a clean sweep on the offense and the defense. I'm going with Whitehead too. And I was just going with starters. I was like, I'm not going to pick a guy who isn't like on the field as much as these guys. So, it was I thought it was a runaway. I mean, I couldn't think anybody else who had a worse year. Well, I shouldn't even say worse year. He had worse 3 years than Whitehead has had.
2. He's only been here 2.
Even 2? I thought he.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. It was last year.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it was only 2.
Yeah.
It
Hopefully
feels like three
last
though.
one.
Feels like 10.
Feels like-
All right, the best special teams player. Ralph, why don't you start with this? Then we'll go to Ray.
I'm going to go with Morstead because Greg Zerline probably cost us about 5 spots in the drafts. They both had great years, but I'll go with Morstead because I mean, that guy drops those punts like a golfer with a little English dropping a flopping one onto the green. And I love the way he runs around. He's great.
Yeah, he is. He's enthusiastic too. Ray?
Yeah, I'm going with Morstead. He almost dropped one there in that horrible weather in New England and kind of it looked like it was going to hop to the side, and then it just took a second hop and went in the end zone just barely out. I thought he was going to drop one in that.
He got one earlier or later in the game.
Yeah, he got one later. And so and I like Zerline too, and he had an outstanding. I didn't even realize that he only missed like 3 kicks the whole year, 2 of them in the last like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, Zerline was amazing, but Morstead with those punts. I mean, because punters can change the game when they're like that. I mean, they flip that field, and he was outstanding.
This is the one pick where I took the easy way out. I have a tie with Morstead and Zerline. These two guys who are free agents, they were so valuable. People don't realize what it is when you flip the field. And Zerline, his accuracy from 50 plus has been unbelievable. It really has been incredible. And people
I know, again, wasting as good a kicking combinations we ever had, and they've totally been wasted. Yeah.
And talking about that, I just want to bring up an unsung hero is I think our long snapper Hennessy.
Yeah.
I think that is taken for granted because if you watched, even Titman made a few bad snaps, and in the college game there were a few bad snaps. So if you watch a lot of football, we take that for granted. And
well, the fact that they clear a spot, all these teams, for the guy just to do that just shows you how tough it is and how specialized it is.
So okay, so Ray, what is the best moment of the year for the 7-10 New York Jets?
For me, it was right off the bat with Gibson on that punt return in overtime. That was our one, after what a horrible night it was. Rodgers went down and you knew you were stuck with Zach again. And it was like disaster right off the bat. So just to come back and win that game the way we did, it just was like, okay, there's something. I mean, otherwise it would have been the New England game, but the joy of Gibson doing that, the way they won that game, to me was my one real moment of joy for the year.
Right, Ralph?
Well, I had a tie between that, and I'll go with the other one. It was Tony Adams' interception against Philadelphia. They're going to the bye week. It looked like they were going to lose that game, and they just beat the best team in the league at that point. So that was really the height of their season right there.
Yeah. Our record was still pretty decent.
I think they were 4-3 at that point or something like that. So things were looking surprisingly decent, even though we kind of knew that their offensive output was not sustainable like last year. But that was just like that gave us 2 weeks of a high. So I really love that.
Everyone refers to the Eagles because they say, "What happened? They were 10-1, and then look what they said. Well, who would they lose to? I had it very close to the opening game, just like Ray, but I picked the Giants game. It was
that was the third one. Yeah,
horrible game, but the way that ended, because it reminded me of the year before, like against the Browns. So that Browns game was more excited, and of course Clifford turned it off. But what I liked about the Giants, sorry, Ray, the Giants game.
You called me, so I got it back on.
I actually thought it was Zach Wilson's best moment as a Jet. If you remember, he had the ball, I believe it was 24 seconds left, and he drove him down. He rushed up. I didn't think they were going to have time, and he spiked the ball. If you remember, there's 1 second left on the clock.
Learn their lesson from the week before. But there's so many things could have changed that if Lazard takes 2 more steps, they don't have time. It was exciting. That was my other possibility.
And to the former defensive coordinator of the Giants for playing oddly playing like.
Yeah, that might have gotten him fired, for God's sakes. That
Yeah.
what
That might have been the one too. Yeah. And Ralph, the best part about it is right afterwards we get a text from Ray. What just happened? Remember that? It was the classic.
It was what just happened, and then what just happened again.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Well, my favorite was I turned off the first New England game when I thought it was over, and somehow they got a Hail Mary, and I had no idea about it. And I was going to come on the show and rip them, and they could have won that game if Randall Cobb grabbed that ball or something.
If he was more prepared to grab that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And let's see, we're going to start, I guess, with Ray. The
He
worst.
just started with me.
Oh, Ralph, the worst moment of the year.
Well, not counting
Not
the
counting
Aaron Rodgers,
Aaron Rodgers,
which is the
yeah.
worst moment in the history of the team, probably.
Well, no,
Um,
Vinny going down to me.
Yeah, that was I think that's 1A, but I think Rodgers is worse because the hype is so much more now.
Yeah.
The obvious one is the Hail Mary Black Friday play, which was
Yeah.
laughable. But I'm not even going to take that. I'm going to take the second Miami game when they lost 30-0, and they didn't. I don't think they got a yard in the first half. And I think everyone in Jet Nation just said this administration has to go. It was just like such an embarrassment. It was like playing a high school team. I've
Ralph,
never yeah.
I want to ask you about that game because go back Sal's first year when BB was running up the score. I think they had 55. Remember that?
Yeah.
This year they got killed from Dallas. I
Yeah.
maintain that the game you're talking about, Miami, was probably the most outcoached game I ever saw in my life by another coach against the Jets.
That was I think even Lazard had the nerve to like say that the coaching staff got out schemed, and we were like, it was ridiculous game plan. At that point I think everyone lost any hope of this regime being any good. And unfortunately, with all these great names leaving coaching, Robert Saleh's coaching staff still remains standing. It's the most mind-boggling thing I've ever seen.
Ray, did you see all I get these tweets, so I get it right away. So I would tweet Pete Carroll fired, and Ralph would tweet back, and Robert Saleh
still standing.
Then I tweet Nick Saban is leaving Alabama. And then he tweets back, and Robert Saleh is still the Jets coach. Then I tweet, Bill Belichick is stepping down. Ralph comes back, and we still have Robert Saleh.
No, but you know what else I said? I said Belichick has more Super Bowl appearances than Saleh has wins. It's
You're right. Oh my gosh. Okay. My worst moment. Did I pick one? I'm going to go with I hate the term fail Mary, but I can't stand that stuff. But it was that. I mean, we had a quarterback that had no right being in the league. It was just pitiful. And I just, I was with the family up in Connecticut during Christmas, and I just couldn't stand it. So it was that moment. Ray, did you pick one?
Yeah.
I agree that probably was the worst moment, but I'm kind of like Ralph. I'm thinking of a game in that Raiders game. Just
that one
irritated the hell out of me. I mean, it was like a rookie quarterback on the other side that, for the most part, we didn't let him kill us, but he makes a play, and our guy, throws a big pick to basically end the game. I was just so frustrated at that point that to me was the Miami game was bad because of the fail Mary, but they were going to kill us no matter what. They were a better team than us this year by a mile because of our offense. But the Oakland game, the Atlanta games that we should have won, those are the ones that just drive me nuts with how bad we played.
All right, good picks. Ray, I'm going to have you start. Best rookie of the year for the Jets.
I thought at least he shows the most promise. Gibson. He shows the most, promise of being a playmaker down the road. Just more of one than he already is. So, I thought he had the best overall year. I know he fumbled, Marty. I know you'll point out he fumbled.
I like him still. I still like
But
him.
all in all, I liked it when they had him. I want to see him mix him in more on the offense. I think
Right.
if they get another top receiver, I mean, what Lazard was supposed to be, I think he'll be even more effective. So,
Right. Oh, good pick. I consider him. I picked Joe Tippmann. I thought he did really well. I thought,
mhm.
and forget about this PFF grades. I really focused on him. I looked at film, and again, he didn't play like I think the first 4 games. The first game he played was at guard. There were a couple of hiccups on a few of his snaps the last 2 or 3 games, but for a rookie, I think he did really well. So I'm going to say Joe Tippmann. Ralph?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Tippmann as well, just because he got a lot more reps and he was a lot more significant than Gibson. Gibson, I have high hopes for too. But Tippmann, I thought, as a typical rookie, he came on and showed some versatility, and I think we've got a future with him, and if AVT can come back to being what he was, I think the interior of the line is looks okay. It's the tackles that is our problem.
Ralph, I want to ask you about Tippmann. Would it shock you if the Jets drafted a center with the idea of moving Tippmann to guard full time just because of his height? He's pretty tall.
Yeah. No, if they could get what they thought was a really good center, maybe in the 3rd round or something like that, that would, I mean, we got to plug holes in this offense. And what's his name? McGovern, he was on a 1-year deal this year. I don't know what their plan is for him. I guess, he got hurt, so I don't see them bringing him
No,
back.
I
So
don't see it.
they need to fill holes, and I wouldn't mind that if they saw a center who they thought was better than the best guard. And yeah, I could see Tippmann doing fine at guard.
Zach Frazier from West Virginia. Remember?
Oh, he's got a name already.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah. Projected 2nd or 3rd round pick. All right. We're going to start with Ralph now. The Jets Player of the Year. Okay, Ralph, go ahead.
Well, the player of the year, it makes no sense. I picked the CJ Mosley, but I'm going to go with Quinnen Williams. I do think he's the most dominant player on the team, the most important player on the team. He didn't have the numbers that his brother had, and or the flash. But coming toward the end of the year, he started getting more numbers. And I don't know if he was totally healthy at the beginning of the year, because he got even better as the year went on. So I'll go with Quinnen.
Okay, Ray, why don't you go?
I'm going with Brees only because if it wasn't for him, I'm not sure what offense we would have had. I mean, because if they didn't fear him at all, I don't know that Garrett Wilson has the year he has. I'm not sure what we would do for an offense if we didn't have Brees to kind of make the defense think a little.
Ray, let me ask, was it on him breaking a short pass for a touchdown? Did he do that once or twice or 3 times this year? I don't remember.
At least twice.
That's what I think. Ralph, do you have any recollection? Was it twice?
He did one early.
Did one against the Giants, and I think he might have
Did
had
he do
another
one in the I don't know
Yeah.
if it's the Buffalo game. I'm thinking, what was the second game?
Yeah,
Wow.
I think he did it twice. But what's interesting is I'm wondering a guy like that, if these quick short passes, he has a better chance to break it just because it's spread out and he's in
Yeah.
open space. You know what
Oh,
I mean?
a guy like that, you get him the ball as many times as you
Yeah.
can, and
Yeah.
definitely with passing, because he isn't taking the beating that he will if he's running.
Yeah.
Right.
And
So
he's out in the open, he can make a move.
yeah,
Guy miss.
Yeah. What a player. I said Quinn Williams. I went with Ralph. I just think, again,
Yeah.
a throwback type of player, works hard. To me, he's like the anti Mo Wilkerson that signed a huge contract. And I thought, look, he didn't put up the numbers as Ralph said, but I thought he played just as well almost as last year. The guy was
Yeah.
phenomenal. And he was getting better like towards the end of the year. He wasn't getting run down, which was great. So that's my choice. Good, great choices, guys. And now we're gonna go to Any thoughts on the college football playoffs that happened Monday night? Ralph, we'll start with you because I'm still reviewing the tape. I didn't see it.
Oh, you didn't?
No, but I
Let's
want to
go to the
know. I
videotape.
want to know
Well,
Michael Penix.
yeah.
He always covers his face after the game. I don't get that.
I didn't even think about that, but basically the three games, for the first time in a million years, I actually picked the right team to win the whole thing, and I thought that considering that a lot of people think the Jets are thinking about drafting a quarterback, so you had three quarterbacks in this playoffs. Now Quinn Ewers is going back to school, and I think he should because I think he needs more polish. JJ McCarthy, and I heard Mel Kiper say he feels like he's been a game manager. He could be very good, but he feels like he's late first, second round pick because he just hasn't shown it. Marty's been on Penix for like a year now. And
Over a year.
yeah, I got sold in the Texas game. He checks all, he looks almost NFL ready the way he moves in the pocket. And for people who say he didn't look that good in the Michigan game, the Michigan game just proved what I learned as a little kid watching Texas destroy Roger Staubach, the best player in the country, and in the championship game, he couldn't do a thing. And I learned very early in life that lines win games. And Patrick Mahomes looked like an amateur against Tampa Bay when they couldn't block either. And he just, they were just putting so much pressure up the middle on Penix that it just threw their game off. Penix, I think, is polished. I think the one thing the fear for Penix is, all those knee injuries. I don't know this, but other than that,
two knee and two shoulder.
yeah. But I think I agree with you, Marty. The guy has a lot going for him. You look at him and you look at the crappy quarterbacking we've had for the last 3 years, and the way he moves in the pocket, the way he gets rid of the ball quickly and accurately. I obviously the doctors are going to have a lot to say about where he's going to get drafted, but JJ McCarthy, yeah, I think he's a good-looking quarterback. The one thing is, I don't know if I can take another baby-face quarterback.
I know. Yeah.
It's like,
but Ralph, I don't know, and maybe Ray saw more than me. I haven't seen him throw many long passes. I remember last year against TCU, he lit it up long, but he throws like middle range passes to me. I know they dropped 2 of his passes though.
Yeah.
Too. So do you think it benefits him to go back to college, or does it depend who's coaching the team next year?
You asking me or Raymond here? Because Ray's the Big Ten. You know what? I don't think it would be a good idea for him to go back because Michigan's losing a lot of players and maybe their coach. And I think, his stock is decent now. I think he will be a first round pick just because quarterbacks get overpicked.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Marty. We haven't seen enough of him. And it would be somewhat of a projection with him. So, but I think he'll come out.
Ray, I'll start with that last question. Do you think JJ McCarthy should go back to college, or do you think he'll be a first round pick?
If he wants to cash in on, his value, this is the time to go. You're going out on top. You had a great playoff. I don't necessarily agree with Mel that he's just a game manager. I think he showed that, especially, in that Alabama game when it looked like they might be in, trouble losing, he had on 4th down, he had a really nice play. He seems to play under control. I would say that we'd be lucky for him to fall. I know he says 2nd or 3rd rounder. I don't think he'd fall to the 3rd round. He might fall to the top of the 2nd. I can't see him going past middle of the 2nd at the most, and I would be not shocked if he is in the 1st round. I think he shows a lot of promise.
Yeah, he'll be a first round pick. And what about
I think so.
Penix?
I like Penix. The injuries are bad. I when we talked about the game, leading up to it, I said, that Michigan's defense is a step up from the Texas defense, and I figured he'd have more of a problem with them. And he wasn't as sharp in there, but he was under a lot more pressure from Michigan than he ever was against the Texas game. But he stands in the pocket. He can make the throws. He's mobile when he has to be. The injuries are the thing that'll have everybody kind of, wondering if they should take a flyer on him. And it's the only thing that might, I think, hurt his draft stock. I like yours, but I think Ralph's right. He needs some more polishing. But overall, I love the playoffs. I love the two games. The Michigan, Alabama, and the Washington, Texas games were both fun games to watch.
Yeah.
Outstanding. They were both competitive. And
by the way, that was a lousy last play in Nick Saban's career.
Yes.
Stupid call.
Yeah.
Should have rolled out. Should have had him roll out with a couple of things going down.
One more thing. In this guy Kalen DeBoer, who's done a great job in Washington, and they talk about him maybe being the Alabama coach. I mean, he did something in the Texas game that was so dumb. Do you remember on when they were killing the clock, instead of just taking knees, he's handing the ball off. The guy gets hurt. They could have got a fumble. I didn't know what the hell he was thinking of. It was insane.
And that injury stopped the clock.
It stopped the clock, and it would have easily cost them the game.
They were on the 12-yard line with 15 seconds left and a first down, and they got all 4 plays off, and they didn't score. But it looked like Texas was going to pull out a miracle because of that.
Oh, man. I mean, that was such a blunder, and it would have been a shame because the guy's done such a great job. I don't know what he was thinking. Maybe on first down, okay, if he gets 7 or 8 yards, but he got nothing. It's like, all right, that's it. Just take your knee. And they were grabbing for that ball. It was like...
Ralph, maybe they should have done what Jameis and Winston did. Line up in the victory formation, then run a play. But I want to ask Ray one question, and Ralph could chime in. Ray, if the final game was Michigan against Georgia, who would have won the game?
I think Georgia would have probably won it. I think Georgia was the best team. They had a bad, if you followed their games, they're kind of like the Jets defense. They started out a lot of their games slow and behind, and then they'd come back and win. If they started out fast against Michigan, I don't think it would have been any doubt they would have won. If they started out like they did against Alabama when they lost and got down, I won't say huge, but they got down, at least 10 or more points. It might have been more than that they were down to Alabama before they lost, and then almost came back on that one. But I think Georgia was the best team in the country, and they just blew it against Alabama. Hey, one thing I wanted to point out too was on ESPN after the Alabama-Michigan game, and everybody was talking about the last call, and a couple experts in the booth said that was not in the booth, back in the studio, we're saying that was really close to being a play that won the game. That had the snap been better, he probably would have scored. And I'm watching that replay. I don't know what you're looking at.
They had that.
Yeah, he wasn't gonna get in the end zone on that one. They had stuffed the middle, and the snap was low. It wasn't like in the ground where it slowed him way down. It slowed him down for a split second. He wasn't gonna score that play. That was a terrible call.
Well, you didn't see this championship game, Marty, did you? Ray, you saw. Penix missed a few guys long, but that one play where he hits O'Dunes, and they called it back because of a really ticky-tack call. That would have changed the whole game.
Hold?
Yeah, there was nothing there, and that was, I think, a 7-point game at that time. And
it was the kind of hold that you see all the time.
Oh man,
this is the kind of thing they let him get away with.
I know Trumaine Johnson's watching it on TV, going, "What the f is that?"
I got one held worse than that.
All right.
Oh, when they had made it, what was it, 17-13?
It was 2013, I guess. Yeah, then 17, 2013.
And I thought, here's Washington. They're going to pull it out in the end. It's what their whole season.
I mean, I thought Michigan was the better team, and they deserved to win. And Marty, as far as your question about Georgia, I think it would have been a really good game. I think Georgia would have. I'm not positive though. Georgia came into the Alabama game having won 29 straight games, so it's like you kind of figure that they were going to lose a game. I mean, they got away with that game last year in the playoffs, which,
Yeah.
and so, but it's too bad because that would have been the best matchup.
Oh, and one other, you had said about DeBoer's call. Well, Harbaugh almost cost them when he went for it on the one play, and it got
Yeah,
them
yeah,
rolling. They
yeah,
ended up,
yeah,
he went for it on fourth instead of trying a field goal or punting or whatever it was, and they went right down the field, and then it became all of a sudden it became 17-7. It was a
yeah.
game.
But by the way, there's a player in Georgia. I'm really love this receiver, Lad McConkey. He's a winner. I somehow
Bill's kid.
I
I'm
don't
not
think he is. I looked
I
it
think he
up,
is.
and I
Yeah.
don't
I thought
think
he
he
was.
is.
This
Yeah.
guy is a winner. I just somehow want the Jets to get him. I don't know if they could. All right, listen, we're up against the clock.
He
Let's
should be Phil's kid.
let's go. Let's go through quickly the NFL wildcard game. Then we're going to get back to the Jets trivia question. The Cleveland Browns are going to be at Houston, and the Browns are 1.5 point favorites. Quickly, who do you like in this game, Ray?
Um, the Browns Texans game.
Yeah.
I like the Browns because of their defense, but the Texans are going to be dangerous. That could be quite a game.
So who do you like? Who's going to
I
win?
like the Browns, but I don't think they're going to kill them. I think it's going to be a close game. I don't know, how much, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout.
All right, Ralph.
I'm going to go with the Texans. I just have a
That's
funny
surprising.
feeling they're going to be like a fun story this year.
I'm going to Texas. I think their defense is good and underrated, and I think Flacco's going to have a rough time.
Is that game at Houston?
It is
Yeah.
at Houston, and that's the
Yeah.
early game, 4:30 at 8 o'clock. The Miami Dolphins at the Kansas City Chiefs. They expect it to be like 10 below, no wind chill with that temperature. The Chiefs are favored by 4. I'm going to go with the Chiefs. I'm a huge Pat Mahomes fan. I know he had panicked a few games. He went off on end, and I just think that they're going to be playing better. I think he's the type of player that could carry him in one game, and I think they're going to beat the spread. I'm going to go Kansas City Chiefs. Ralph?
I think Miami is not going to be feeling comfortable in that kind of weather, and I know neither team is playing well right now, but I think the Chiefs will win that game.
All right, Ray?
Did you say 10 below or 10 degrees?
10 below. That's what I heard.
Yeah, that if it was a warmer game, I'd take Miami because Miami's had some injuries, but I think the Chiefs aren't. I don't think they're going far this year. I'll be shocked if they get even to the championship game. And if it had been something a little bit above 0, I'd have said Miami, but I think 10 below is a little too much for Tua and the boys.
All right, we'll start with Ray. The Pittsburgh Steelers are going up to Buffalo. Buffalo is 9.5 point favorites. What do you say, Ray?
I like Buffalo, but they better not take Pittsburgh for granted. They won't have TJ Watt though, so I think that to me is like without somebody to pressure Allen into making some mistakes, I think Buffalo will take that one.
I'll go. I'm going to say Buffalo, but I don't think they're going to cover the 9.5.
Yeah, that seemed like a lot.
Yeah, I'll say Buffalo. Ralph?
I think they will cover. I think Pittsburgh is an easy mark because their quarterbacking is not good, and I think Buffalo's playing their best football of the year.
Okay, good. All right, classic, bringing back a lot of memories. The Green Bay Packers visit the Dallas Cowboys. It's a 4:30 game, and I guess the Cowboys are favored by 7. Ralph, we'll start with you, then we'll go.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys finally get their revenge after 58 years. I'm going to pick the Cowboys comfortably.
Okay, Ray?
Yeah, I'd take I'm surprised the Cowboys is not at least as much as the Buffalo spread.
Yeah.
I'm not sold on Green Bay, and especially in Dallas. Yeah,
Yeah.
Cowboys.
Yeah. We're going to make it a clean sweep. I think Dallas is going to cover and cover big. Then at the 8 o'clock game, I guess it's a Sunday night game at 8 o'clock. Oh, yeah, I hate these 8 o'clock games. The Rams visit Detroit. I'll start. Detroit is 3-point favorites. I'm going to go with the Rams. I love that coach. This is a revenge game for Stafford. And it's interesting because also the Detroit Lion quarterback used to be on the Rams. and actually went to the Super Bowl with them, if I remember right.
Yes, he did. They lost to the Patriots.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
they didn't even score a touchdown in that
right,
game.
so
Yeah.
I say the Rams are gonna win outright. Ralph,
This is a tricky game. Do you know that the Lions management has said that they will not allow people to wear Detroit Lion Matthew Stafford jerseys in that game? I
I
read
can't believe
that.
that. That's ridiculous.
It's absurd.
Can't they get
I,
like Ron Kuby to bring a lawsuit before the game or something? I think it's not
I
right.
didn't know that James Dolan was owned the Lions.
Oh, yeah.
This is a tricky game. I'm going to take the Lions though because they're at home. But it's a dangerous game for the Lions. But I think this could be their second. You know, the Lions have won one playoff game since 1970, since the Super Bowl era. That's unbelievable. That makes the Jets history look like, you know, like the Dallas Cowboys. You know, it's like
Okay.
unbelievable.
Ray?
Yeah, I don't know. Everybody's high on the Rams because they're playing well right now, but you know, I like Campbell and he keeps the guys kind of fired up and I think he'll keep them under control. I think Detroit can win this. I won't be surprised either way, but I think Detroit can do it.
Oh, I just like the Rams coach. All right.
Yeah.
Ray, you're gonna start Monday night. Oh God, 8:15. The Eagles are at Tampa Bay. Eagles are -3. I'm sorry, the 3-point favorites. Go ahead, Ray.
Uh, I'm kind of losing faith in the Eagles, but I think they'll do it on this one. I think it'll be okay on this one, but I don't think I kind of feel the same about them as I did with the Chiefs. I think they've kind of started losing their touch there towards the end of the year. So I don't think they're going to go a long way, but I think they'll win this week.
Ray, is this Baker Mayfield's third playoff game? Do you have any recollection? I know he was in one other. Was he
It's in
Well,
Cleveland, yeah.
Third year, you mean third time
third
playoffs?
playoff game in his
Well,
career?
they went to the AFC Championship
Oh,
against
okay. So it could be the
Kansas
fourth?
City, didn't they?
Yeah.
Or was it the second?
I'm
Yeah.
not sure. Okay, well, I'll have to look that up. Ralph, what do you say with this game?
Yeah, I mean, Philly's stumbling, but you know, Tampa basically just backed into the playoffs. So yeah, I think Philly should win this game. If they don't, I heard someone say that they thought that Bill Belichick could take Nick Sirianni's job if they lose this game.
That would be interesting. Though I can't see him working with Harold Roseman, the general manager. Not
Howie, yeah,
he'd give up player personnel, but Roseman's a strong personality.
yeah.
I'm going to go with the Eagles also. I think they're going to win, and let's see if they do end up going to the Super Bowl. We can always say we beat the Super Bowl champs. So let's get back to the Jets trivia question. We'll start with my amateur question. Sauce Gardner, he made the All Pro. One of 7 Jets to make the All Pro multiple times. Who are the other 6? What did you come up with, Ralph?
Wow. There's some interesting. I mean, I can throw a million names out. Gastineau.
Yes, 3 times.
Uh-huh.
What did you
Klecko?
give? Yeah, Klecko twice. Let's
Okay.
Ray, you give 2.
All right.
Mangold,
Yes, 2 times. Go ahead, Ray.
Revis,
Yes, 3 times. Ralph, you give 1 more.
Curtis Martin.
No.
No.
Ray, you try 1.
Brick,
Who's that?
DeBrickashaw.
No.
No,
How
Ralph?
about
I'm counting on Ralph for some of the older guys.
I'm gonna go with one of my favorite all-time Jets, John Elliott.
No, this is post
Oh,
merger time.
well, yeah, okay.
was there after
He
that?
did. I think he did one in.
Yeah, he
Well,
did
I don't
one.
know when the cutoff is.
Yeah.
Okay. Kevin Mawai.
Yes, very
Oh,
good.
yeah, I forgot about him.
1 more left.
Is he an old timer?
Well,
I mean, so far we've been doing everybody.
70s and 80s, let's say.
Okay.
You want
Randy Thomas.
No.
Marvin Powell. I
Yes.
I got it. I got that one.
Very good. You know, it's funny. Somebody wrote the answer and they just wrote the last names. And some guy wrote Was it Bilal Powell?
Yeah,
I said, I don't remember. I don't remember him making it once.
He was a good little player.
He was a good little, very underrated. Okay, go
Yeah.
ahead, Ralph, your question.
My question, since the Jets came into existence in 1960 as the Titans, they have drafted 5 quarterbacks who led their team to a national championship, or at least a part of a national championship. How many of them can you name?
Oh, the Jets had to draft them.
They drafted them. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then I'm wrong on 2 of these answers.
Oh, who did you
I
have?
put Vinny and I put Rick Myra.
You know, Vinny, neither of those ever won a national championship, actually.
Many
I did.
awesome
I thought they were
ones.
good
Yeah.
guesses, though. I mean,
Vinny should have won 2, and he lost the bowl
you
game
know,
in both of them.
Ray could bear witness. When I do trivia, it's more of a guessing game most of the time. So, Ray, why don't you start?
Yeah, I didn't have time enough to think about it more while we were going, but
I'll-
so
I'll
name
go if you want. You want me to go?
Ray had a couple. What
Go
did you
ahead,
say?
go ahead, Ray.
Namath won one at Alabama, didn't he?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
John Hewart.
John Hewitt, that was the same year. No, they would have won it, but it did.
I put John Ewer too. I thought maybe he won it the year before,
Okay.
year after Namath did.
No, that was the same year, and Hewitt, they were number 1, and they lost. They
Yes.
blew a game to USC at the, or they would have won the national
Okay.
championship.
They
So
blew it.
Namath got it.
Let
Yeah.
me give one. How about Richard Todd?
Richard Todd is a yes. In 1973, he split time with Gary Rutledge, Jeff's older brother,
I didn't
and
know.
they won. Oh, even though they lost to Notre Dame, they got the AP poll. Yeah, so it's Richard Todd is 2.
That's all I got. I have no more. Ray, do you have any more? You're gonna have to tell.
Well, I don't know if we drafted him. Greg McElroy.
That's right.
Oh, that's right. I should have
3 Alabama players
Yeah.
right there.
That's
Now
a great pick.
The 4th and 5th ones are tough. The 5th one was in 1960. They drafted this guy who never played for them, a guy named Sandy Stevens. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
I have heard of him.
Like the first black quarterback to be an All-American, and he led Minnesota to a national championship in 1960. The Jets drafted him, and he never played, but he was an exciting football player. Now, the 5th one is a really interesting one. It was this guy. I'll give you a hint. He was drafted in the 3rd round, but the Jets drafted him to play a different position, even though he was quarterback this team.
Scott Frost.
Scott Frost. That's right.
A good question, Ralph. I like that. That's it. That's great. All right. We're going to wrap it up. We've gone way, way overtime, just like the Jets did against the Giants this year. So for Ray Clifford and Ralph Schrager, stay tuned. We're going to try to have a playoff show next week. If I can convince these 2 guys to come on, it's going to be an extensive playoff show. So for Marty Schupak and Jets Rewind, until next time.